Greetings, horror sci-fi and Mike Flanagan fans. Drew here from Horror Sci-Fi and Beyond, and I hope you guys are having a happy Easter, this fine Easter Sunday, wherever you're at in the world. Because today we're doing Midnight Mass, Mike Flanagan's masterpiece, and with me, to talk about Midnight Mass is my mother, Robin Sparks. How's it going?
Hi, glad to be here.
Awesome. So, you ready to get into some Midnight Mass?
I am. Let's do this.
All right. So let's just get into it because we got a lot to talk about with this show.
Yeah, for
Because it's
sure.
dense. So the plot summary for Midnight Mass, according to the Internet Movie Database, an isolated island community experiences miraculous events and frightening omens after the arrival of a charismatic, mysterious young priest.
We tend to dislike mysteries. We feel uncomfortable not knowing. The more that we know, the less we bend, the more brittle we become, the easier to break.
That wasn't an act of God. Wasn't it? It's okay to just look at the world and say, why? I don't understand. Why? 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 Who are you? You know who I am.
Now, before we get into our thoughts and a bit of a background of this series, um, let's cut to Reed, who we invited on here, but unfortunately couldn't make it to kind of give his quick thoughts about this series.
Hi, this is Reed Lackey from the Fear of God podcast, and here to share my thoughts on Midnight Mass. So I grew up in the church and have had a religious background. I'm still a believing Christian. And so Midnight Mass was really compelling to me because in many ways, it had touched on so many of the subjects that I had seen growing up and that had been very important to me and my family, small communities and centralized faith. And I didn't grow up in Catholicism, but I definitely appreciated the perspectives that Midnight Mass had in terms of the way it expressed religion in a community. What was really interesting about it, though, is because I've also been a horror fan for so long, and I found it often deeply moving the ways that they deployed both religious imagery and religious language alongside horrific things and horrific ideas, because I felt like it was really touching on this nerve that each of us have, where what we believe also kind of scares and terrifies us sometimes. What we believe about the universe, what we believe about ourselves. There's this really moving sequence in Midnight Mass where these two characters, Kate Siegel and oh gosh, I'm forgetting the actor Zach Gilford, where they are discussing what happens when we die. And one of them talks about just basically the materialism and that when we die, our bodies become part of the natural order of things. It decays and it feeds the ground and feeds plants and that feeds animals. And then Kate Siegel is talking about how the sort of the idea of being embraced by love and experiencing just this profound acceptance and affection. And then later in the show, she expresses this different understanding for herself that is about more cosmological, and it expands to these ideas that we are all part of this thing that's kind of beyond our understanding. And while I don't necessarily myself subscribe exclusively to any one of those particular beliefs, what that conversation prompted in me was this idea of a lot of times when we think about things like, well, what happens when we die, we're tempted to break those down into one singular thing, like, oh, well, this is the thing that happens when we die. But what Midnight Mass kind of opened up for me is the idea that multiple things could be happening simultaneously. Like, what happens when we die? Well, this is what happens to your physical body, and this is what happens to your consciousness, and this is what happens to your soul, your spirit, depending on what you believe. And I think the same thing is true when we think about, well, when you fall in love, or when you become a parent, or when you experience a profound joy or a profound tragedy. Multiple things happen to us at once. And I think Midnight Mass does a really impressive job of interplaying those two realities. To the pastor of this local um, community, he experiences this monstrous thing in the vampire manipulating him, but at the same time, he is experiencing, at least temporarily, this kind of rejuvenation. And I think what the his story in particular puts to mind is this notion that sometimes a thing which might temporarily be helping us, or we feel like it's healing us, might also in the long term be destroying us, and maybe vice versa. Sometimes things which are, hurting us initially might in the long term be healing or helping us. There's so many different avenues and caverns I could go down, but I want to keep this little mini review brief. I do love the show Midnight Mass. I love it deeply. I think about it a lot. There's two additional things that I want to bring up, just by way of things that I find meaningful and important. Zach Gilford's character, the choice that he makes once he becomes a vampire to basically alert, the woman that he loves to the threat that is, prevailing down on the town. And he alerts her by, taking her out into the middle of the boat just before sunrise so that she'll witness what happens to him and alert the rest of the town to the threat that's creeping in on them. His redemption arc in that choice was deeply moving to me. His "I did my best" speech is just so beautiful and humble and tender. And the last thing that I want to mention is I find it really profound at the end of the show. Yes, there's, the people are all singing a hymn as the sun rises, and they all sort of, welcome their own deaths. But I'm also thinking about, and I do forget her name, I don't have the names in front of me, but the young daughter's character, who she's disabled, and she spends most of her life in a wheelchair because of that accident which befell her. And the vampiric blood temporarily rescued her, temporarily saved her. And I love that at the end of that show, that she experiences, that's how they know that the darkness, the wickedness has kind of been destroyed, is that she can't feel her legs anymore. And I always thought that was a really profound and unique way to identify that things have been made right. Sometimes we get so caught up in thinking that, if we are incapable of something, or if there's a particular gift or talent that other people have that we don't have, we can sometimes feel like something's broken or something's wrong with us. And that little exchange that, even though this accident had claimed the use of her legs, that feeling the absence of that was a sign that things were being made right. Like maybe it's a little finger point, a little wink, a little nod to the fact that maybe despite what we may be incapable of doing, or how different we may be from other people, maybe we're just who we're meant to be, and maybe we're right where we're meant to be. So those are just a few of my passing observations on Midnight Mass. I love the show. I'm looking forward to hearing the broader conversation. And thank you, Drew, for inviting me to share just a few of my scattered thoughts about it. So yeah, I'm excited to hear the whole episode. Bye.
All right, Reed, thank you for contributing to this episode. I really like what you have to say about this, especially when you're talking about like the stuff that we believe as far as like Christianity goes is kind of is what's scary because the Bible is kind of like a horror novel in a way. Like there's some crazy stuff. What is your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I thought that was really good points that Reed made about that. Yeah, I'm really bad at this. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I thought those were really good points that Reed gave for sure. And I hadn't really thought about it, though it's very true how scary the Bible can be. And not only the Bible, but I mean, you're just talking about other religions as well. Though I know that this island is
Right.
specifically Catholic with St. Patrick's Church. But yeah, I mean, if you think about religions in general, I mean, there are some pretty scary things going on in their
Oh,
doctrination.
yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get into our discussion, just do some quick background real quick about his influences, Mike Flanagan's influences for the show or inspiration for the show. So a lot like Riley, the character of Riley, he was an altar boy. He grew up Catholic. He was an altar boy, and then he, once he grew up and went to college, read some religious books and like books by atheists and all that stuff, and basically kind of discovered that there is no God, and I'm an atheist. And he just kind of had like this idea for like this horror, story evolving around like this island community that are all about like going to church and all that stuff. And he slowly developed the story like over the years. And it's funny because I think he wanted to do it at the novel first, and it shows up in a couple of his projects, particularly a movie called Gerald's Game. The book is in the background, and then in a movie called Hush, which is about a deaf author who gets stalked by somebody. In the beginning, her neighbor comes over and discusses like her book, and it's funny because the main character is played by the actor that played Aaron, Kate Siegel, which is his wife. And
Oh, I
then the
didn't know that.
neighbor is the actor that plays Bev King. Um,
Oh, I didn't know that. So it's kind of like a parallel, like Flanagan's parallels Riley's walk or journey. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, a little bit. And this is kind of cool to they'll kind of watch his stuff now. Particularly, like I watched Hush for the first time after watching this, and then I hear these these two characters talk or the neighbor character talk about like Riley and Aaron. I'm like, oh my God, it's Midnight Mass. They're talking about Midnight Mass. So that was pretty cool that he always had this idea for a long time. So that's a bit of a background on that. What is your thoughts about this series before we get into the deep dive?
Um, well, I liked it, but I did want to make a comment. I did want to make a comment though about you're talking about Flanagan because I didn't really know a lot about him.
Hmm.
So I looked up some stuff, just kind of seeing you talking about his background. There were a couple of articles from some, well, I think they were religious people, not
Yeah.
sure. But this one interview I think that Flanagan did with a guy named Mike Duran, I think is how you pronounce his name. So he has this quote in here from Flanagan that says, "My feelings about religion were very complicated. I was fascinated but angry. Looking at various religions, I was moved and amazed by their propensity for forgiveness and faith, but horrified by their exclusionism, tribalism, and tendency towards fan fanaticism. I can't say that word very good, and fundamentalism. I found a lot of these various religious ideas to be inspiring and beautiful, but I also found their corruption to be grotesque and unforgivable. I wasn't going to support those kinds of institutions any longer. I was only interested in humanism, rationalism, science, and empathy." And religion, I believe, is one of the ways we attempt to answer the two great questions that ache within us all. How shall we live, and what happens when we die? For most of this project, there was a preoccupation that I had with what happened after we die. What is the correct answer? How do we answer that question in life? He was explaining to Mike. I think it took me until very recently, until the last real swing at this script, to realize that doesn't matter. So much of this question was about what we do when we're alive. And the only thing that matters is how that belief changes our behavior towards each other while we're alive, which I thought was very poignant.
Mm,
So it made me really kind of understand a lot of what was like the questions that were being
mm.
asked basically in this series. So that was some pretty good background on
Oh yeah,
where he
for
came from
sure.
and what his perspective was while he was doing this and writing
Yeah,
this.
I definitely, and we can get into this a little bit later, but I definitely share a lot of similar views on religion.
Yeah, I could definitely understand where he was coming from
Mhm.
with that. But okay, go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah. So, like, what is your thoughts overall?
Overall, so I watched this not I don't know. I think probably when it first came out. When did it first come out?
2021. I remember telling you about it.
Yeah.
Like,
So after you told me about it, I watched it. And I think I probably saw it more for the horror part,
mhm.
if kind of like I mean, not that I didn't see the questions of religion in it, but I saw more of like the cultism sort of,
Right.
horror part of it. But then when you wanted to do this and you wanted to invite me to do this with you, I just recently watched it again. And especially, like looking up a little bit about Flanagan and where his perspective was and where he was coming from, really did give me a whole new spin on watching it. And not that I was specifically looking for those things, but I definitely could see the more, how you question religion and you
Yeah.
question people's behavior and you question people who say they're religious or
Mhm.
don't say they're religious, just those different perspectives. So I thought it was really cool to watch it again and just kind of see it from a whole different
Oh,
perspective.
yeah, for sure. So my quick thoughts is I freaking love this series. I think this is Flanagan's absolute masterpiece. And I think one of the reasons why I really love this series is because I really love the blending of horror and realism together.
Hmm.
I think that's like one of my favorite topics. It's one of my favorite subgenres of horror is realism, like religious horror. The Exorcist obviously being a big one.
Which is, by the way, the scariest movie I think in the history of scary movies.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. I
Um,
won't watch it again. I don't even like to think about it. Anyway.
but yeah, Somerlocks, some of his stuff like Signs and just recently Knock at the Cabin. Frailty's another really good one that I really gravitate to. And The First Omen, the movie called The First Omen, which is a prequel to the original Omen. I really
Right.
like. So I just like that blend. I think it's really realism brings a lot of comfort to people. But like what Flanagan was saying in the quote, is there's a lot of really dark elements to
Right.
religion.
I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like to watch horror movies or scary movies that are religious in nature
Hmm.
because I think one, because I think some of that crap can actually happen.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a little bit what scares me about it because horror movies on its own horror movies. I mean, not that there can't be a slasher or
Mm.
a serial killer out there doing,
Mm.
really crazy things. That to me is more far off from what I think is possible.
Right.
But when you put religion in it, I mean, you
Yes.
put God and you put like the devil and demons, it rings more true to my personal beliefs.
Yeah.
So for me, it's scarier.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason why people get such a visceral reaction to something like The Exorcist or some of these other movies like The Conjuring. But I have a funny story to tell you about real quick. After I get done with this other point.
Okay.
Is that like a serial killer or like a sark? Those are tangible things
Hmm.
that we,
Yes.
yeah, they're in our natural world. A demon, whether you believe it or not, and I believe in some of that stuff to a certain extent, not as strongly as you do, but it's beyond our natural world. So I think
Yeah.
that's what really gets people.
Yeah, because you're talking about people's spirituality
Yeah.
or the spiritual world. And it, like you're saying, it's not something tangible. It's not something you can see or hear or
Mm.
feel or, so yeah, I think it,
Yeah. I mean, hell, I think like the first Alien is way scarier than like Halloween or, like Jaws because like I don't know what's up there.
yeah, true,
Yeah,
very true.
and why I think ghost movies are scarier than a slasher or shark because if we just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think anything that we can't, for me, anything we can't comprehend is always going to be scarier for me.
Yeah, good point.
My quick
Okay,
Conjuring
but
story.
tell me your funny whatever.
So I went to go see the new one recently, and I came home, and I remember the first thing you told me was, "Drew, I don't want to know anything about it." 'Cause,
Very true. That was very true.
yeah, well, I remember like I was telling you I was watching The Exorcist for the review that me and Reed did a few years ago, and then like you literally started tensing up, just like, "Drew, no, don't tell me you're watching it."
Mm-mm, I don't want to know you're watching it. I don't want to hear it, like even with the door closed and hear any of the music or anything, because it just brings back all of my horrible, horrible feelings.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, let's get into the deep dive.
Okay. Deep dive it.
Yeah, so what are some points you want to talk about?
I'll let you start because there are some that just, so you guys know, Drew kind of gave me a little list of things
Hmm.
that maybe he would like to talk about. Some I don't have big strong feelings about, but some I have very strong feelings about. So you start. You start with something that you would talk
Okay, so I guess we just talk about the opening real quick.
about. Okay.
Because I think that is,
Ooh, yeah, I got some stuff to say about
yeah,
the
I think
opening.
that's so brilliant the way that Flanagan does that. I think and a lot of directors will do this. He kind of takes it out of the book of Hitchcock a little bit with Rear Window. When you get that painting shot and you see that he's in the cat, like Jimmy Stewart's in his cast, and then you see his camera, and then you see, the race car, a picture of the race car track, and then you can kind of piece together what happened to this
Mm-hmm.
character. Similar here, but with a little more dialogue, you see the bumper sticker, which is the fist,
Mm-hmm.
the symbol for Christianity, and Christ with the fist of men. And it's funny because his father is a
Well,
fister.
I'm sure that was on purpose. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you see that he was in this bad car accident, like a drunk car accident. And the paramedics are ruling out this woman that died,
Mm-hmm.
and Riley's just sitting there in shock, and the paramedic is kind of cleaning him up and like checking up on him, and he asked him, actually Riley's praying at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy asked him, while you're at it, ask him why he always takes the kids while the drunk fucks always walk away without scratches or with scratches.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so interesting.
I think it really set up what you were about to see in this whole series,
Yeah.
personally. But like on a scientific reason,
Mm,
pe I'm not saying exactly what happened in this case because the girl died,
mm,
but one of the reasons why people who are inebriated or they're under the influence of something, the reason why they usually don't have as many injuries in an accident is because they are not as tense when it's happening. Did you
right.
know? I don't know if
I
you
did
knew
not
that.
know that. That's like
Yeah.
a really interesting fact.
Yeah.
That's
So not,
cool.
like I said,
Well,
not
that's not
necessarily
cool, but
yeah, no,
yeah.
it's not cool. But not necessarily in this case because this was a horrific accident
Mm,
where somebody died. But yeah, it actually is true that because
mm,
you're more limber, you're not like when things are happening, you don't know they're happening, so you don't tense up and you don't try to like you don't put your hands up or you
Mm,
don't like, anyway. So that's a lot of reasons why people
yeah,
that are under an influence of something,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then you get the courtroom scene, which again going. I mean, we're talking a lot about Stephen King because Flanagan's a big King fan.
Yeah.
Um, this court scene reminded me a little bit of Shawshank Redemption when Andy Dufresne realizes that he's gonna spend his entire life in prison, and he does like that pan out shot
Mhm.
of Tim Robbins. He kind of does that too, where like get that realization that Riley's going to prison for 5 years.
Yeah, and I think though, combine that with then like seeing him in his jail cell,
Hmm.
and then you see his first dream vision. I
I
don't know
love
what you want
that
to call
scene.
it, but yeah, that's something I want to talk about later. But I think for me, I saw him as, he felt like he deserved it. Like
Mm.
I don't think, um, I think that it was like he took his punishment,
Oh yeah.
you know, at, because some people, oh my gosh, I know what I'm trying to say, but some people kind of fight it, if you
Mm.
will, like, well, I need help, it wasn't my fault, I'm an alcoholic. I mean,
Oh yeah.
they'll come up with all kinds of stuff, but like for Riley, I think even at the side of the road, um, that realization of what he
Mm.
did and he deserves everything that's coming,
Oh yeah.
like his punishment, his sentencing, and
Yeah.
all that stuff. I feel like for me, he felt like he
Yeah.
deserved all of
Yeah.
it.
So he's a little bit of a different, kind of thing with Dufresne,
Yeah.
because he no he didn't kill his wife.
Right.
Right. But yeah, but I just love that. Like that realization. I'm like, no, I just fucked up. Like
Yeah.
my life is fucked right now.
Like yeah, his life is over. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the cell scene when he is his first night in prison and he lays down and that camera tilts over.
Great shot, by the way.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And it does that smash cut to the woman that died and then like glass all over her face.
Hmm.
Ooh, that scared the shit out of me the first time I watched it. And I thought it was such a great moment to the point where I actually put it in my top 13 scariest horror movie moments.
Hmm.
That I did my first episode with Reed, a few years ago. And then I liked how like Flanagan goes back to that again, but it's not like the slow build up the second time around. Like he does it rather quickly, but as soon as that camera tilts, you're gonna see that woman again.
Yeah, and I like how that I call it in my notes. I put like dream/vision,
Mm,
because I don't know exactly what it is, and if you want to talk about that, we can. But I like how he used it to carry it through the entire
mm.
story, the entire time.
Yeah, because it haunts them.
Yes, but I think it was actually that's why I called it a slash vision,
Mm,
because I feel like it is foretelling of what is to happen.
right.
And I think it was telling Riley what
Yeah.
his fate was from the very beginning.
Hmm.
I mean, we as the audience may have not understood that. You understand that
Mm.
a little bit later, but yeah, I liked that.
Yeah, and that's also a theme in Flanagan's work is the past haunting characters.
Mhm.
It's almost in almost every single one of his projects. The past coming back to haunt the main character.
Yeah, and if you think about it, I mean, somebody who has compassion or love or they should feel that. They should be haunted
Yeah,
by something for the rest of their lives.
yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
not that it should, I mean,
Define
if you do, yeah, exactly. Not that like it should destroy your entire life if you
Right.
make a mistake and do something bad, um, but yeah, it should definitely change who you are.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So next point I want to talk about is I want to talk about a little bit of the music, particularly Neil Diamond, because we get I think like one or two Neil Diamond songs.
Yeah.
Because you're introduced to this island, Crockett Island, where Riley grew up.
Okay, can
Um,
we just talk about for a second the island? Because I thought it was very I thought there was a lot of symbolism
Hmm.
in it being an island because it's
Yes.
so isolated, being Croc Island, even about the oil spill happening and
Ooh,
tainting the
I did
town.
not catch all of that.
Yeah, and I did write this down because Riley's mom in the very beginning when she actually said she called the island a ghost.
Ooh,
So I
okay.
wrote that note down because I was like, ooh, that was, of course, that's based on I had seen it before and I'm
Mhm.
watching it for the second time now because I didn't catch it the first time, but I was like, ooh, that was so telling of what this island is about. But I think my favorite part about that is that the nickname was Crockpot.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of funny because crock pot, usually a crock pot, you put like a bunch of miscellaneous
Mm.
things in it and cook it anyway. I thought there was just a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
symbolism in just the fact that it was an island and it was called Croc Island. Anyway,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
So the Neil Diamond song that's being played is a song called Suman Moon. When I looked that up, it is actually Arabic for peace or peace be with you.
I did not know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And there's even like a part, even a line that says, God of my wants,
Hmm.
Lord of my days, there's something like that. And I think that was that was a very interesting thing because that's a whole part of like Christianity is, thou shalt not want.
Hmm.
God is always going to provide what you need.
Right.
Um, I think it's kind of cool. It's a Neil Diamond song because I feel like Crockett Island is a place lost in time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I was
and
gonna bring
Neil
that.
Diamond is very 70s.
Yeah.
Like I think the two biggest 70s artists that so many middle-aged mothers listen like
What?
are Neil Diamond and Barry Manilow, and you're one of them because you're a
Okay.
big Barry Manilow
Barry
fan.
Manilow, yes, not Neil Diamond. So
I
yeah.
like Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond's
Not that I
cool.
don't like Ninja, but he was not somebody that I listened
Yeah,
to.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I was trying to be stereotypical.
Okay. Thanks.
So I did think it's so cool how like because other than the fact that like they're using like cell phones and there's some aren't day technology and Riley had like 90s horror movie posters in his room that I thought was really cool.
Mm.
You would have think that this whole series took place in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, the island was definitely lost in time,
Oh yeah.
or it was paused for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool how they did the Neil Diamond song, and then they do Holly Holly um later in the series, which is really cool.
Yeah,
Um, Yeah, for sure. And I think Neil Diamond is Jewish too.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so
Again, I'm not a Neil Diamond
yeah,
fan, so
yeah. So yeah, so it seems like religion or religious symbolism kind of comes up
yeah.
in his stuff. And then I just love the hymns, man. Like I'm not a big, like I said, I'm not religious myself, but I love a good hymn.
Yeah. So, your audience doesn't know,
Mhm.
I grew up in a church. My parents were both Methodist. Um, but then when we moved to Arkansas, they started going to Baptist,
Mm.
and Southern Baptist. So Southern Baptist is can be hardcore.
Yes.
Um, but I think that was one of the things I did like the music.
Mhm.
I always liked and the songs they stick.
Mhm.
Like I can still sing hymns that I remember singing in church from way back then.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
yeah, they're comforting, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that it's just I just get such a yin and yang kind of feel with religion a lot of the time. Because you have like, what you're saying, the comforting part of the hymn, but then, you went to a Southern Baptist church and it's really hardcore. I've listened to a lot of those like those fire and brimstone Southern preachers. Like
Okay.
it is some scary ass shit.
That is I don't know if this is for this podcast. You might want to take this out later, but yes, I went to as a young child, and up into my teenage years, went to a very hardcore Southern Baptist church. Um, and it was one where every Sunday you walk in the door, the preacher is telling you you're going to go to hell.
Right.
Like if you don't change your ways, if you don't accept Jesus Christ as your personal savior right now, right this very second, you're going to, like, I don't know, fall down dead and die and go to hell for eternity. I mean,
Right.
that's the kind of Southern Baptist church I went to, which was super scary. And so,
Yeah.
when you get to an age where you get so much pressure,
Mm.
um, pushing you to accept Jesus Christ as your savior, accept Jesus. I mean, it's like,
Mm.
you know, because literally you are going to die and burn in hell, and that's all that you have in your
Mm.
head. Um, and this is just my personal
Mm.
opinion. I just don't think it's the way to go, because what I did was I accepted Jesus Christ as
Mm.
my personal savior very young.
Right.
And I really only did it because of all the pressure. Like,
Yeah.
I literally had one of my friends was an associate pastor there,
Mm.
and we were in, I don't think we were in Sunday school, kind of like Bible camp or something. It was in
Mm.
the summer. He came and pulled me out and set me down and talked to me about my salvation. And I felt so much pressure and
Mm.
so much fear that I'm like, okay, I accept right now, I accept. And so I was baptized. And sadly, I really don't think that that's when I accepted Jesus Christ,
Right.
because I really only did that
Mm.
because of the fear. And us, well, we're talking about the
Mm.
fear of religion. Yes, that's, to me, is something that I think religions, and I'm not just talking about Christianity, I'm talking about all religions. I
Mm.
think, um, you know, you've, when you pressure and push the fear,
Mm.
I don't think that you're really getting true believers and true followers.
Absolutely not. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that it helps that you have things like Dante's Inferno, and I don't know if you're familiar with the famous sermon from Jonathan Edwards called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry
Angry.
God."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like shit like that. It's like okay, I don't personally believe in the traditional view of hell, but if there is a hell, I don't think it's nearly as hardcore as like Dante made it out to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's more like it'll be more like an emotional thing. Because really, if you look at the Book of Revelation, it says the lake of fire is for the devil and his demons or
Hmm.
his angels or whatever it is. So it's not really meant for us. I think it's going to be more emotional, like an empty. If that's what ends up happening. I don't
I
know.
mean, crap, people think, Earth, us living here is our hell,
Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah,
different
that's a
topic.
whole
Yeah.
nother conversation. Okay.
But yeah, I'll just say this. I think it's so fascinating how the three biggest literature pieces of literature that informed a lot of people's ideas about hell and God's judgment is Dante's Inferno, The Exorcist, and then the Left Behind series. That's just so fascinating to me.
That is, yeah.
Um, so I want to talk about Riley's father pressuring his son to attend church.
Yeah, well, we kind of a little bit talked about that, because that's how I grew up, being very pressured.
Yeah, because I think he doesn't use like fear on him, like what happened to you.
Yeah.
It's more,
Guilt.
yeah, I think it's more like a status symbol kind of thing. Because he says like your heart didn't have to be in it at all. I think it's more like, oh, my son's back. You know, um,
Yeah,
church is a
see,
big deal for this island. It's like, yeah, I think it would be respectful if he
yeah,
would join in.
I think so. I think it was like what is expected of everybody
Mm.
there was to go to church. But then after Riley went with his dad, I can't remember, because I know he went on the boat twice. I think it was the second time. I know we're kind of skipping ahead a little
Mm.
bit, but the second time is when it was just him and Riley on the boat. And so that's when he talked about how he really, like, kind of blamed
Mm.
himself. Though he had hard feelings toward Riley before prison, but then he really um, he didn't use the word hate. I can't
Mm.
remember the word he used, but it was also about like the money that
Mm,
they were having to spend like for his court case and and all
mm,
of that stuff. And so he resented him. I think maybe resent was the word he used. Um, but then he said that he blamed himself because he
right.
thought he wasn't doing something right. So I really kind of tied it into that as like I think that his dad was kind of trying
Yeah.
to save his soul, kind of because I think the dad felt
Mm,
so guilty
yeah.
for what had happened to Riley that maybe like if you go to
Mm,
church, like you can find salvation there. So I
yeah.
think he was trying to help Riley in that way get to
Yeah.
church as well.
I think a lot of, I don't know if you're like, if you're experienced this a lot, but I definitely had some people like pressure me.
Oh yeah, my
Yeah.
whole lifetime, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like it. It's just like, it's my spiritual journey. 'Cause, well, here's the thing. Even though I'm not a Christian, I don't go to church. I'm not an atheist. I'm very much am spiritual. I do believe in a higher power. I try to be grateful to him or to it as much as I can. But yeah, I just don't believe in the structure and the system of church and religion. Is
Hmm.
my whole thing. So I just go tired of people always making me feel bad for not going to church. I'm like, it's a building. It's not gonna make me be any closer to God.
Yeah.
I feel like. Speaking of which, I like how and after the first church service that Raleigh goes to, after he comes home, after he gets out of prison, he meets the new pastor of the church, Father Paul.
Hmm.
Which we'll talk about that whole thing later. And he learns that Wiley is going off island for therapy, and he was like, "Well, why not stay here? I'll be your therapist." And then Riley is like, "Well, I'm not in a very good state of grace right now."
Hmm.
And then Father Paul um, is like, "Well, Jesus always went after people that weren't in a state of grace.
Hmm.
Like he always went after people that like thought they were good with God."
Hmm.
And he went after like prostitutes and Pharisees and people that were making profit off of his father's name. So the thing that was so interesting that, yeah, even though he's sort of the bad guy Father Paul is, and he's not doing some good things, there's a level of comfort with them, slightly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of I don't know who he is yet
Mhm.
or who he really is yet. So yeah, it was quite comforting. I mean, I think that the first introduction of Father Paul, he's a bit awkward,
Yes.
in a geeky kind of way, I guess, from my perspective.
Mm,
But I found him very comforting. Like he seemed very down to earth.
mm,
He seemed very relatable to people and where they were. So yeah, I no red flags went off.
yeah. My first red flag is at the end of this episode, the first episode, when he's in his living room reading the Bible. I think like drinking like hot cocoa when the storm's going on,
Mhm.
and he like pauses from reading and he looks up at the towards the window, like on his couch.
Mm.
That was my first indication. I'm like, oh, bet there's something nefarious going on with old Father Paul.
Yeah, I actually kind of keyed in on that as well, but it kind of gave me two concepts. Like so, like by the end of the first episode, I had two thoughts. One, that the island was its prison
Mm,
all by itself, so it's isolated. It's actually a prison
mm,
for people. But then also, my thought was there are a lot of secrets on this island.
yes.
There's a lot of stuff brewing, yeah, that we don't know
So
about.
let's talk about Crockett Island a little bit because we mentioned Stephen King,
Hmm.
a little bit earlier. This is where Stephen King comes in because this Stephen King often writes about small towns
Hmm.
because he grew up in a small town, like dirt poor.
Hmm.
And this series it's basically Salem's Lot. Okay, what the plot of Salem's
Hmm.
Lot? A guy goes back to his hometown while a vampire is trying to infect the entire place. That's basically the same plot here. I mean, fundamentally, not like we're missing details, but
Yeah.
the bare basic. That's what it is. It's a guy going back to his hometown while vampires trying to take over.
Yeah. I mean, I guess yeah, I could,
Yeah,
I could see your point with that.
yeah, and it plays like a novel. Like after every episode, like a chapter, you want to keep reading, keep reading, keep reading.
Yeah. But I
You get
think,
so intrigued by the story,
yeah,
like a
I
good
think,
King novel. Sorry.
well, yeah, no, I think like, Flanagan knows, just like Stephen King knows, that if you took this story and put it in the middle of New York City, it's not going to take like it does when it's in a small town.
Yeah.
I mean, and with your characters and your character development, everybody's going to know each other, in a small town.
Mm,
So then everybody's going to know each other's secrets. Everybody's going to be either cheering for each other possibly, or
mm,
like that rings more true. You fall in love with characters more when you're invested in them, like they're invested in each other. So I think that that's always a
mm.
good place to a good place to put any kind of story is in a small town.
Oh yeah, which is why like Stranger Things works
Yeah.
because who would suspect that like this various group of scientists would
Hmm.
plant like their laboratory in the middle of nowhere, Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, which is why it works because you would think that something like a killer intergalactic being that eats children would be in the
Hmm.
middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So I want to talk about my favorite character real quick, which is the Seraph.
What?
What?
Who's your favorite character?
The Seraph?
You didn't tell me. You told me somebody else was your favorite character.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Okay, go ahead.
So I freaking love this guy because I love him for a couple of different reasons. I love his connection to Islam with his wife because his
Hmm.
wife was very connected to her faith,
Hmm.
and she unfortunately died. And so I think that's why he's so passionate about it because his connection to his wife. I also like how he's just a good guy. He's just a good guy. Like during the Holly Holy scene, like he sits in the cell with the town drunk, Joe Colley, and
Hmm.
drinks coffee with them. Like
Yeah.
this is such a beautiful moment. I just love that.
Yeah. Well, I think we picked the same people because he's also my favorite character.
Hmm.
Um, Similar reasons. I just think because he actually, to me, epitomized loving people, like truly loving and caring about
Hmm.
people, um, in this town and in this story. And especially when, who is it? It is Sarah that comes in and he explains his whole background and why he
Yeah,
ended
the
up in that
nurse
town.
or the
Yeah.
doctor.
Hmm. When he tells his whole story and just to see how he always took the high road, like
Hmm.
that made me understand why he was the way, or I won't say why he was the way he was, but it just shows that even when you have all those horrible things happening to you, it's about
Hmm.
who you are as a person. And so it just made me fall in love with him more because I was
Right.
like, wow, that dude went through all of that
Hmm.
and basically, run out of town being called a terrorist, and every
Yeah.
aspiration that he's ever had has been squashed and taken away from him just because the color of his skin and his
Hmm.
religion like just made me fall in love with him more. And then then what he could just run. I
Hmm.
mean, he doesn't even have to care about those people in town. And
Right.
they're doing so, if we're, spoiler alert, going to the very end, he's still trying to save people. Like he's
Yeah.
still trying to do the good thing, yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Even Bev like gets mad at him saying like, "How dare you pull a firearm in this building?" or something like that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah, he's
Yeah,
really good.
I love that character so much. And I think what you said that even though he went through all that, he's still a good person. I think that's why God lets bad things happen in this world. I think this whole thing's a test.
Really.
Yeah, I think this whole existence is a test. I think what it is, I think what it comes down to is doesn't matter what you believe, if you're a believer or an atheist or whatever, or you had a different belief. I think it comes down to were you a good person?
Mm,
And what despite all this,
yeah,
did you keep your integrity?
yeah.
Because I think that I mean, because even Jesus talked about that. He says there's going to be many people that come to me on that day of judgment that tells me, Lord, Lord, didn't we cast out demons and do all this stuff? And he said, well, no, you saw me naked, you didn't clothe me, you saw me hungry, you didn't feed me. Um, and that's the point. Like, take care of people, be good to people.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point.
I think it is all about that you should love. That's your number one.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I mean, if you're following Christianity,
Mm,
it's to love God and then to love others.
right.
Um, so yeah, I think that it's always been about
Yeah.
love. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get back to
Yeah. Do you want to get to the Bible debate? The classroom.
Oh, okay. I marked that one. That is one of my favorite scenes. Which one is that in?
I think that's episode 3 or 2 or 3. It's when he discovers the Bible in Ollie's backpack,
Yeah, yeah,
his
yeah.
son's backpack.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to talk about like when he goes to this? So when he goes to the
Yeah.
school meeting? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I like to take the reins on this one.
You'll let me take the reins on
Yeah.
it.
I feel like I've been dominating the
You're so
conversation.
kind. Well, I think I loved it because there's so much about what was said by the sheriff
Mm,
that is like on the nose of how I feel about things.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
on the
Yes.
nose. One, and this is just a personal opinion, I don't think that religion should be talked about in
Mm,
schools. All and not because it shouldn't and because it's not a worthy topic, but that it's so diverse.
right.
Because I think if you give one religious belief or one religious doctrine time,
Mm,
you need to give all of them time. So for me, it's kind of an all or nothing.
mm.
Um,
I agree.
that was kind of touched on.
Mm,
Um, and that's a public school.
mm,
Very different if you go to a school that is a religious school. Then
mm.
by all means teach your doctrine, and I have nothing to say about it because
Right.
that's why you're sending your child to that school
Mm,
to not only get an academic education but to also get a religious education at the same time.
right.
So feel free to do that. Um, there were a few things that I did. There was one thing that I disagreed with, but then he kind of spun it around to where I'm like, yeah, okay, that's the
Mm,
point. But because he said that the Quran was given to Muhammad, so it's the final word. And I'm like,
right.
okay, but that's your religion, that's your
Mm,
belief. But then and because he says that Jesus was a prophet of God, so instead of the son of God,
mm,
but when he said because it was man or men that
mm.
altered the message after the time of Jesus. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. That is how my personal feeling
Yeah.
is that um I think that all religions have a book, as
Mm,
that like what they were talking about. All religions have a book of their guiding
mm,
principles. Um, I think that they are all inspired by followers of their whatever
right.
of you know for Christians, God. I think he's
Mm,
inspired by God, the Bible, that is. But I think that it's men that wrote it. I think
yes.
they wrote it for their purposes.
And that is my number one problem with the Bible being the final authority on for God. Because why would God create humans to be flawed, knowing that they will be flawed and that they're gonna mess up and be sinful? and then have them write his word, interpret his word. You know what I mean? Like, if God really wanted me to take that book seriously, he would write it himself and bring it down from heaven, not have other people write it for him.
Yeah, I think that just the premise of what's in the Bible, which talks about all the fallacies
Hmm.
of humans and what it is to be a human, that right there tells you that that's not the right person to write it.
Right.
Because yeah, are you going to be selfish? Yes, you're going to be selfish. You're going to include, a letter to a town to tell them how they need to live.
Right.
And then but you're gonna say that that came from God.
Mm.
No, I personally believe, no, that came from that guy who wanted that town to act the way he wanted them to act.
Exactly.
So that's my thought. But I like that he brought in, like, the all religions
Hmm.
and in all religious books,
Right.
you know, in that conversation. What was your take on?
My take was th this is a great scene. He brings up a lot of great points that I agree with. It is the most frustrating scene in the entire series
Yeah.
because he's being rational
Hmm.
and Aaron is backing him up, even
Hmm.
though he's a Christian and she goes to the St. Patrick's Church,
Hmm.
that's on the island. But then you have snooty ass Bev King
Oh my
coming in
gosh.
and saying, I don't think it's a big deal that I teach your kids about, religion. You know, she didn't actually say this, but she was like, screw your Quran. There's horrible stuff in there anyways. Like, I don't care about it. I know she didn't exactly say that, but she was
No,
just so
but
dismissive about it, and that's what I don't like about it. It's just like,
I know, but I love that she talks about that. She talks about all the horrible things that are in his book.
hmm,
But have you read the
exactly,
Bible?
yeah,
It's like there's some pretty horrible things that's in the Bible too.
yeah, and
But
then
she always, and that really to me was very prominent. I know I'm taking over the conversation again, but that was also very prominent, though you already saw how she twists and spins
mm,
scripture to suit what she wants to
hmm,
say or to prove her point. But that one was like, she was really twisting it
yeah,
around to, like, yeah.
yeah, and then like, these Christians that want to say that like complain about like secular movies having too much violence and sex and like homosexuality. I'm like, read your freaking book that you idolize so much. We put it on this platform, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. That was like the most frustrating thing. And I've been in those situations where I am the rational one just to be shot down.
Well, yeah.
And it's tough. It sucks. I hate that.
Yeah, and to me that also was like a really pivotal point, though it's not that you didn't see it before, but that one of the complaints definitely
Mm,
recently about Christianity and Christians is that their lack of tolerance for
hmm.
anybody who is different than them, um, who aren't a Christian. We'll
Right.
just say it that way. So I think that was very
Mm,
pivotal in really nailing down Bev's distaste for anyone
hmm.
that is not a Christian, that doesn't believe like she does.
Yeah, like to put things in recent point of more recent context, we live in Arkansas. And there was a thing that happened where it was going to be like a requirement to
Mhm.
put the Ten Commandments in every classroom.
Mhm.
And there was a judge that fought that and never turned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, the little town that we live
Mhm.
in was one of the schools that fought to have it. Um, they were in that court case because
Yeah,
they had it and wanted to keep it. But yeah, it got taken out of the
yeah,
schools here. Yeah,
yeah, I think that's
yeah,
crazy.
town.
So I want to talk about Bev a little bit.
Oh, let's do,
What a
because
character.
she is
What a character.
scary.
So
She's scarier than the vampire. Let's just
yes,
say that.
I would say so because like the vampire, you don't know really anything about it. He's just an elemental monster like the shark from Jaws or like the alien.
It's just an animal has
Yeah.
instinct. Like I just think it's just going off of
Yeah,
instinct. I
that
don't
thing
think it's
is
gonna.
smart.
She yes.
Yeah.
I classify her in my brain, she is evil.
Yeah,
Like
like she's
she
like
is,
to me,
yes, evil.
she's in the category of like Hannibal Lecter, where like
Mm,
she's like the smart villain. Like you do not want her to get in your head.
yes.
And I think it's so interesting, so cool that one of Mike Flanagan's next projects is a series for Carrie, and the actress that plays Bev is going to be the mom.
Oh,
I,
she should be because she would be perfect with that role.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
think she's going to blow Piper Laurie and Julianne Moore from the remake just out of the water.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, so we're talking about Bev. She was freaky from the very beginning,
Mm,
even like from, I mean, even watching the first time when I didn't know what was going on, and just her being there. I think it's like in the very beginning where she's at the boat, right,
mm,
waiting for Monsignor because he was supposed to be on
mm.
the ferry or whatever. Just the way she talked to people, I just knew right away, ooh, she is scary. Like I would not want to run into her anywhere because she would scare the holy crap out of
Which
me.
is why she's going to be the
But
perfect Margaret White and Carrie.
yeah, but
'Cause she was like that.
what scared me more or the most about her was when she walked in
Mm,
and saw what Father Paul had done.
mm.
And she was just like, okay, well, this is God's will. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is our plan. Like,
She just
it
went with
didn't
it.
even affect her. I'm like, oh my gosh, do you not see what is on the floor?
Yeah. And it was like that the entire series.
No, like, no, like gruesomeness and the horrible things that, like, the pure evil in people or things or whatever, just did not phase her. That to me was
Yeah,
so
it's
scary.
like when it's like that the thing that the one that sticks out to me is when you finally kind of figure out that like there's something supernatural going on with Father Paul and he may be a vampire and he's off in the corner because he didn't want to go in the sunlight
Mhm.
and like Colley's there at some point and then like he drinks his blood killing him and then like Stag I think his character the big burly guy with the beard
Sturge.
Sturge.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes in and then he just takes control. Like, he didn't care what going on emotionally in Paul's mind
I
with his whole
know.
vampirism. He didn't care what's going on in Stag's mind because he's probably
Sturge.
Sturge. I don't want to like keep calling him Stag Sturge. Like, because he's probably over there like thinking like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like he's like, no, like do this. Like this is God's will.
It's just like, okay, you're gonna roll them up in the carpet and take them out. I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, she's like a me, like a what do you call it? Like a
She's a psychopath.
psycho. Yeah, a psychopath.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
she is literally. Yeah, I hate her so much. Like she's one of those
Yeah.
villains that you just hate,
But I
and I
mean,
kind of want to know like why she's like that.
well, it's clear that she thought that she should have been the like when you go through the symbolism and everything, of
Mm,
course, if we're going to talk about later about the symbolism of it being Easter and the resurrection and all
mm,
that stuff. She clearly thinks that she should have been the chosen one,
right.
from God. She thinks that she has wrapped herself so tightly in scripture and religion and all of the rituals that it should have been her.
Mm,
So I think she's very envious and pissed off, basically, that it's
right.
not her. Yeah.
Yeah, and even Father Paul at the end of this series, I think his very last line of dialogue is when he comes to that realization is like, no, what I'm doing is wrong,
Yeah.
and
Dude, you destroyed this entire
yeah, and
town right
Bev
now.
and
Yeah.
Bev is not buzzing one inch.
No, she don't
Now in the
give a damn.
middle inch, whatever the smallest amount of the inch.
Yeah. So let's just like skip all the way to the end.
Well, I just want to
Oh,
see.
no. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to see my thing real quick.
No.
Yeah. No, when I now you're starting to sound like Bev,
Go ahead.
but no. He says something that's real interesting with this realization. He says, I realized that the priesthood is it's not supposed to be about me. It's supposed to be about God.
Mm-hmm.
And he yells God, which I thought was really profound because he finally got his break, came through his breakthrough. He's trying to get through to Bev. He's
Mm-hmm.
not buzzing. He says, obviously, he's not there for this conversation, but Riley's mom is trying to get through to her. Is like, just because you may not like somebody, God loves that person.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to, if we're supposed to be like God, we're supposed to love our enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's just not getting it. Like after everything that's going on, all this destruction he's seeing, he's just not getting it. And by him yelling, it's supposed to be about God. Like he's like, no, you need to listen. Like, like, like you're being selfish. Like you're being completely selfish. I thought that was real interesting. And Harmon's Linklater really sells that.
Yeah. I just to emphasize what you're saying, if you notice, she was the only character, the only person that fought it in
Mm,
the end. So, like everybody else, just came to the realization of what is going to
mm,
happen and they accepted it.
right.
She's the only one who didn't.
Mm,
She was the one who fought it at the very end. Like
right.
everybody else was fine.
Yeah.
So I mean that just like she did, like you're saying, she never wavered. Like
Mm,
she, I mean, I guess you could give her that. I mean, she, you know, she's pretty stands pretty solid on her beliefs and
yeah,
her
but if you're
stance.
standing
But
on something on your beliefs, even though it's like really fucked up and really like dark and sinister, like I don't know, that's a
but
that's a noble thing.
yeah, but think about like a lot of things that are happening.
Mm,
That is what people are doing. They're standing so strong
mm,
that they literally do not have their eyes open to what is
right.
happening.
But that what makes a good villain is the best villains see themselves as the hero.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm so looking forward to seeing this actress as Margaret White and Carrie. Like she's
Mhm.
gonna kill it. But you just captured like every religious fanatic character.
Mhm.
I think that's gonna be like her lot in life, just playing like religious fanatics.
She did a good job.
Yeah,
I believed her. I believed every part
yeah,
of it. Yeah.
dude, get her to play Annie Rolsk at this point. She'd be good at it. Um, want to talk about one of the most emotional scenes, which is Lisa, who we didn't even mention yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a
Who,
very big part of this whole
yeah,
thing.
so she is the daughter of I believe the mayor, right?
Yeah.
And
Wade and Dolly. Yeah.
yeah. So she gets into an accident. Joe Coley was like on a hunting thing,
hmm
whatever. He was drunk, and he accidentally shot her
hmm
and made her immobile,
Paralyzed her.
paralyzed. Yeah,
Yeah.
paralyzed her. So she's in a wheelchair.
hmm
And then in the second episode, at the end of the second episode, this is when things get real like holy shit.
hmm
Father Paul is doing like like the wine and the bread, and then he stands up on the podium and like gets her to like stand up, and then she stands up, and then it's the end of the episode. And so then it becomes like this whole talk of the town, like, oh, Lisa is walking again.
hmm
I can't remember if it was this episode or the next episode where she goes to Joe Coley and asks for forgiveness or forgives him.
Yeah. It was right after that. So when the episode where she stands up
Mhm.
as the end of one episode and it's the beginning of the next episode. I think they kind of
Well, no,
show it again.
I think he's in that episode because the beginning of the third episode is Father Paul the confessional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you start to get like answers to what's kind of going on a little bit more. But what I like about that forgiveness scene is like she has some mixed emotions during that.
Yeah, it's in Proverbs. I had to look it up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so she has some mixed emotions. Like she's still clearly very angry at Joe Colley.
Yeah, should be. Yeah.
Yeah, he should be. But what's so interesting is because he has such a connection to the church and Christianity is all about forgiveness.
Hmm.
That he forgives Joe. And I don't know, and I want to ask you this, just thought about this. Do you think he really means it, or do you think it's that religious pressure?
Oh, do you think, are you asking me, do you think she means
Yeah.
that she forgives him? I do because I think of the person that she is and that you
Mm.
discover that she is. I do think that
Okay.
she does forgive him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but man, that's one of the most, that is probably one of the most powerful scenes in this whole series.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it was very heartfelt. I mean, one thing that to me was profound in that was because I think that Joe was searching for, didn't know how to express it.
Mm.
And then I think he, of course, I think continued to use alcohol to numb himself um, for feeling so horrible about what he did. Um, but I think that he was searching for forgiveness
Mm.
and really wanting it. So I think that was why, for me, it was so profound that though he didn't ask for forgiveness, to me, it was very clear that he wanted forgiveness.
Mm.
I mean, he wanted to be able to um, get, I don't say get past it because that makes it sound like well, I just want to get past this
Mm.
and move on with my life. Because it did affect him, but for his whole life. But why? Oh gosh, okay. I'll go back to my thought because why I'm saying that is because then he decided to go to AA. So I think
Mm.
it's like he was waiting because he was beating himself up and punishing
Mm.
himself, um, but secretly wanting
Mm.
forgiveness. And when she came to give it to him, especially unsolicited by
Right.
him, that gave him the ability to, like I said, move on is really the wrong way to say it
Mm.
because like it makes it sound like it was kind of frivolous, but it gave him the ability to move on. I mean, with his life and
Mm.
to like go, wow, look at himself differently, like, okay, if she can forgive me
Mm.
after what I did to her specifically and how it affected her and her family, and she can see me as a human, as a person,
Mm.
then maybe I'm worthy.
Right.
So, and then decides to quit drinking, go to
Yeah.
AA and try to take care of
Yeah, and another moment, it goes to another moment, and it goes to it just sort of emphasize why he loved the Sarah so much. Because there's that scene, I think it's right before Joe dies, where he's at this little corner store and he's looking at the little
it.
like freezer of beer and he's contemplating if he's gonna buy it or not. And then the Sarah's like right behind him, like with his
Mhm.
arms crossed, kind of leaning on the counter or on the shelf. And he's like, "Well, yeah, you got a decision to make. Like, do you want to go back to drinking or?"
Yeah, it's like, am I gonna see you in a little bit? Or like you're gonna walk on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the classic cop thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he walked away, but he's still broken up about it because like that's what he's used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to getting drunk off his ass.
Yeah. I know that was very difficult. That's what I'm saying. I
Mm.
just think that it was a very profound
Mm-hmm.
moment in that I have a very different feeling about forgiveness.
Mm.
Um, I won't say different. That's why I think for me it resonated so much because I have a hard time, and you kind of alluded to it in the very beginning when you asked, do you think she did that because it's like
Mm.
expected of you in your religion, especially Christianity? Um, and I think the answer to that is yes. I think many people, quote unquote, give forgiveness
Mm.
because that's what is expected of them. And I don't think that they really are feeling it, if you will.
Yeah, it's like this whole, I'll pray for you thing. I'm like, are you really going to?
Yeah,
Or
are
just
you
like,
really praying? Yeah,
or like
exactly.
they'll say, oh, like, bless you.
Yeah, like I'm praying for you and your family in this hard time. But are you? No, you're probably
Mhm.
just like you have forgotten about that person as soon as you try to turn around and go back to your life and like you didn't think about it.
Yeah, but I,
But
I,
but
but I do think there's some genuine people that
oh,
do care.
I didn't
Yeah.
say that there wasn't. But I also, like we talked about in the beginning about people pressuring you in a Christian church about being in the South
Mm,
and the hell and brimstone or whatever you call it. Fire and brimstone,
mm,
sorry. Um, I think there's a lot of pressure for people to give forgiveness.
mm,
One, before they're ready. I think if you're going to forgive somebody, I think you have to be ready
mm,
yourself to give forgiveness. But I also, because I've had people talk to me in the things, and I won't talk about my personal life, but there are some things that have happened, and I went to some work groups at a church, and they kind of harped on that, like, well, you need to forgive.
mm,
But here's the thing that always came back to me was that person isn't asking for
mm,
forgiveness. So if that person doesn't think that they've done anything wrong or done me wrong or done
mm,
anything to me in a bad way that has affected my life, how can I forgive them if they're not even wanting it?
right.
So to me, that's like you're just letting it go and moving on with your life. I
Exactly.
don't think you're necessarily forgiving them. So I get kind of I get a little pucker in my butt when people talk about like you
Mm,
have to forgive because I don't think you have to forgive. But that's why I think in that moment with Joe and Lisa, which I know we could probably move on and talk about
mm,
something else, but that's for me why it was so poignant because he didn't ask for it, but in her confronting him,
yeah, he's probably like thinking like, what the
you
hell?
well, he wanted it,
Mm,
so I think that's why that worked.
mm,
Because I think if the person that I'm thinking about, if I walked up to them and tried to have a heartfelt, which actually I did try to have a heartfelt
mm,
conversation with them, and it pretty much went in one ear out the other, how am I forgiving that? If I
right.
even said I forgive you, it's not going to mean anything to them.
Mm.
Like with Joe, it changed his life.
Yeah, like he
I
was gonna give
think
it to
that,
him.
yeah, and I know because they always say forgiveness is about you. Like to forgive somebody, it's about for you. No, letting go and moving on with your life, that's
Mm,
about you. But when you're giving forgiveness, when it affects that person's life,
mm.
that's to me what forgiveness is about. Like this situation that happened
Yeah,
with
and it
Hazel
and it
or
goes
Lisa.
into a thing I love about earlier in this episode. I believe that I think it's the same episode. Earlier, because I say earlier in the series.
Yeah.
The Holly Holy scene where because of this miracle that happened, it kind of
Mm.
shows the effect of what how of the whole island, in
How
a way,
so?
because it seems like everybody's happy. There's like it's like this moment of happiness and bliss.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, the sheriff is drinking coffee with Joe Collie in the cell. Riley parents are dancing to the song. Um, his back gets better. His that back gets better. All of a sudden, and he's able to lift up his wife. Um, Riley, goes to visit Aaron. So even like for an atheist, like there's a moment of happiness within this whole montage. I thought
Yeah, I
that
noticed
was
that too. It's
interesting.
like the whole town was happy. It's like everybody like they were almost, asleep or
Mm,
kind of, I don't know, like it woke everybody up and everybody's happy and
yeah.
there's like something to hope for.
Well, that's the thing. Is just, I mean, we hear this talked about within the Christian nationalistic, movement that's going
Mhm.
on right now. The whole, like, Great Awakening. Like God's about to soon reign over everything in the New Jerusalem and all that stuff. So I think that kind of ties into that a little bit, in a way. And that song, I mean, it's very joyful. And
Hmm.
I just love the whole, build up to it, which is really beautiful.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alert, I want to talk about my favorite part in the whole series,
Okay. Let's do
which
it.
is Father Paul's confessional scene, which is at the
Mm,
beginning of episode 3, right after the miracle with Lisa.
yeah.
I think it's a flashback, technically, canonically.
Yeah.
So he basically goes into the confessional booth and he, tells God, to forgive him for me about to tell him this lie. 'Cause and this is when you learn the true nature of Martin Senior's Pruitt absence, or you start to kind of learn
Hmm.
what's going on there. And in Harmon's Linklater's deep voice, he goes, I'm about to tell them this lie for their benefit, so that when it starts, they'll be ready. What's to come for the miracles that are to come. That is haunting. That
I.
last line, and I even told you this when after that scene happened, when you were watching it
Mhm.
for yourself, I like that last line for the miracle they're about to come. That is how you end the trailer for this series.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you have this whole monologue and you see all the, all this weird stuff happening. I can picture like a trailer being like this. And then you had that last part for the miracle they're gonna become Midnight Mass. Coming soon to Netflix.
You're funny. Yeah, that when he started, and what is it? The first line says, bless me, because you say, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. And he
Yeah.
says, bless me, Father, for I'm going to sin. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, crap's about to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that definitely caught my attention for
Yeah. And
sure.
that is, man, that is just that whole scene and that whole, flashback to Damascus, which I actually looked up what that was, and it was a road that the Apostle Paul went down, and there's
Hmm.
like a transformative aspect to it. Which then you brought up, like, well, maybe that's why he called himself Paul.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is because he took the same road, so I'm sure that's why he came back.
Yeah, like,
Paul.
and then that's just one of those things where, like, man, even though you're an atheist, Flanagan, you don't believe in any of this stuff, like, you really did your research here.
Well, he put a lot of symbolism in it, for sure. And I was reading, like I said, I did a little research and
Mm,
read about what other religious people were saying about this movie. Um, and I guess there were like some things he got wrong with like what you would have done if you were a Catholic church versus like so he got a couple of things
yeah.
wrong in that regard. But
Yeah. But yeah, I just love these type of actors, like the guy that plays Father Paul, like Morgan Freeman or, Keith David.
I mean, to me, Morgan Freeman is the voice of God. So
Yeah.
like
He played God,
you
basically.
know,
But like I just love the
he's what the voice of God I
yeah.
know sounds like
Yeah, and
for
Emma
sure.
Thompson's another one where like their voice is so soothing. Like you really get wrapped into what they're saying.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I just love his voice. Funny thing, I saw him in an interview recently. I think he was doing like one of the spin-off of that show, The Boys, and somebody mentioned Midnight Mass, and he said, "Oh, you were great on that show." The interviewer said this.
Hmm.
Any chance that you would want to work that you would want to work with Mike Flanagan again? And then Linklater went. Well, the thing is, like, I talked to him about it. And had he talked to me about it? No. This guy, Mike Flanagan, he's working on projects all the time, not casting the whole Father Paul in months.
That's funny.
And then the guy goes, well, hopefully he'll cast you soon. And then Linklater goes, yeah, that'll be great. But no, he's the best. I love working with him. I'd love to work with him
Yeah.
again. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty funny. But no, I hope he becomes part of the Flanagan family because he just works with the same actors over and over again, and he's constantly adding different people
Yeah.
into his. I mean, he recently added Mark Hamill into his little family. Matthew Lillard is going to be in the new was in his last project, Life of Chuck. He's going to be in Carrie. So yeah, I just love because that just tells you that these people love working with Flanagan if they keep coming back.
Yeah.
Um, so to go back to Father Paul's relatability, kind of talked about, in life that we over exaggerate things. We'll say that, we're stuck in traffic forever.
Hmm.
That's one of those things that, like, yeah, it is relatable. Like he's not like Bev who just has a stick up her ass. Like he uses something that we all relate to. Like we all been stuck in traffic for what seems to be forever. But then he related it back to, well, God doesn't see it that way. Like God, we have to take everything in God's word seemingly as like real and truth. I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. An interesting kind of
Yeah.
thing to go back to your point, of him being relatable.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Even when he was like when you knew he was so I mean I don't know if that was the could have been the
Hmm.
actor, could have been the writing, it could have been whatever. Um but like even when you knew he was bad, you could still like a little bit empathize with him and
But
like and he was still relatable even when you knew that he was bringing this angel
yeah,
to save everybody. I mean, because you know
well, he's really
that
not the villain. I don't think yeah, he did bad things, but to me, Bev and the vampire are the real villains of the piece.
oh yeah, for sure. But that's just it. Like I said, I don't know if it was the way it was
Mm,
written. It was probably a combination of the way it was written and the actor who played that part. But you never lost the relatability to him,
mm,
even when you knew that he was doing bad things. Yes, I know that he, as the character, didn't think he was doing something bad.
mm,
He thought he was actually bringing something good, and he was trying to help everybody, to put them back to their perfect selves. And I do want to talk about that because I want to talk about the your concept of death and
mm,
that the conversation that Aaron and Riley have. So we'll put a pin in that part.
mm,
But you still relate to him even to the very end, and then you kind of feel sorry for him, like you were talking about,
mm.
because the very end he realizes that, oh my God, I was wrong about all of
Yeah, and then
this.
he reunites with the woman he loves.
Yeah, but see, I didn't like that part.
I like that.
I didn't because I mean, yeah, because he's a priest and he's supposed to be celibate,
Yeah, yeah.
and so to me,
Kind of like Jedi's.
so everything's a lie.
Yeah.
Um, and you just acted like you were, as the saying goes, holier than thou,
Mm,
but you actually are a human, which is kind of a lot of what anyway,
mm,
religious leaders and Catholicism and thinking that you're perfect. You're not, you're a human like everybody else, but then to portray yourself as if you are, but you are really just a human.
right.
Um,
Well, that's what I think
but I
was.
like that they reconciled it. Like they
Yeah.
put a bow around it and like
Well,
reconciled
that's what
that
I think is
situation.
so interesting about him and Bev's relationship is that really they're thinking this creature is an angel of light, like one of God's soldiers. He's really a vampire trying to like take over the world, and they're his familiar. They're his little assistant, kind of like Renfield in
Mhm.
Dracula, and he they're both doing some pretty heinous things. I think he's doing it out of confusion. He really thinks, I mean, they both are, but he's very conflicted in a way. Like I said, Bev King is really a malicious character.
See, I think yes. Um, and to expand on that thought, for me, and this is a question to you, I thought that there was a point somewhere where, excuse me, I thought that there was a point somewhere where Father Paul or Monsignor Pruitt, whoever you want to call him, knew that what he was doing, and I wonder, and I'm asking you, do you think he knew from the very beginning that it wasn't really? I mean, I think he was trying to um, convince himself, or he just didn't want to see the truth, but I think he really knew what was happening. I think it was about getting back, like to have eternal life and to not die.
Yes.
So I think he knew that it was not an angel of God or it was not God's
I'm
will.
gonna
Bev, on the other hand, though, I think did think that it actually was God through this thing. Do you think that that's true,
no.
Father Paul? Do you think that he thought that it was the angel and then realized it wasn't, or do you think he always kind of knew? What are your
No,
thoughts
no,
on that?
I don't think he knew that it was like a denom,
Demonic?
demonic force. I didn't think he thought it was a demonic force. I'll just go past that. Um, because I think because it's this whole because I think because in being a pastor, I think it was this whole idea of resurrection, and that's how you know Christ was resurrected. I
Resurrected?
can't talk right
That's
now.
okay.
But like, so why can't I be? Why can't I, be transformed
Yeah.
kind of thing? But I think it got to a certain point maybe to where, yeah, he was a little bit confused. He was a little bit convinced. But then to your point, to where you said you think Bev was fully convinced this is all God.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got in his head a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think that's where that was the point of confusion for him.
Oh, good point. Because see,
Yeah, I think that's why I think C was his blockade.
hmm,
Like he's trying to like make that breakthrough. He's trying to do the right thing. Because he's
yeah.
scared. He's legitimately scared when he turns to this vampire and he cannot be in sunlight. He's legitimately scared.
Yeah, see, I think he knew from the very beginning that this was
Hmm.
not a God thing. Because one, well, of several reasons. Um, but to me, the main reason is he's a priest, for goodness sakes. He knows what resurrection is about. He
Right.
should know, and especially being a Catholic priest, you should know what miracles and all of that's about. Sainthood, like you know that, right? As a priest.
Mm.
So I think he knew, but I think that, because he went there, because didn't he go? To the wall because he knew he was dying. He was old. Dude was
Mm.
old, right? So he's like at the end of his life. So he's trying to, you know, I don't know, like, basically say goodbye.
Mm.
Like and confess his sins. And of course he's got that big sin back
Mm.
at home because he got that woman pregnant
Right.
and has a kid. So I think when that vampire did that and he came back to life and was like, oh, I can live and I can be young because I can like take this back to the island and like make all my wrongs right. So I think he was using that as an opportunity, like, okay, I can live forever. I can be young again. I can take this back. I can make this woman young again. We can fall back in love.
Mm.
She can want me again, and we could be a family. Because he even says that in there about he wants to be a family again.
Yeah,
So
I
I
know.
think he knew from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's not a bad take on that.
Yeah.
Well, we also had a very similar thing going on with the whole them drinking the blood kind of thing. We had a different perspective on that.
Yeah, because he even does in the confessional thing, I'm about to sin. I think he knew what he was doing.
See, that's the thing. Just because he's saying that doesn't mean
Mm.
he's doing it for a malicious reason, but he
No,
could be.
I don't think he thought of it as malicious.
Yeah.
I do think that it was a pure-ish thought, like that he was doing a good thing for people.
But
Because, because he even talks about sometimes he says, sometimes bad things when he was doing his whole like AA meeting thing
mm,
with Riley, sometimes bad things happen for good. Good things happen for bad. So I think that for him was like, I'm about to do this bad thing, but it's for good.
but do you think within that, do you think he was in his mind, God, in this whole twisted situation that's going on? Do you think God gave him in his mind? Do you think God gave him this opportunity?
Possibly. Yeah,
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah.
so it's interesting how we have two different conflicting things for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I think he's a very conflicted character. I don't think
Sure,
yeah,
conflicted. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Um, so to go back to them drinking the blood, we had different um perspectives on that.
Mm.
Where I thought it was Mike Flanagan's version of them taking the mark of the beast.
Right, right.
And I remember your initial thing when you first watched the series was the whole Jim Jones Kool-Aid
Mm-hmm.
situation because they died when they did that when they were alive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
With with what happened here,
Yeah,
they died essentially.
yeah. Different, happened differently, but yeah.
Yeah, so I see it more that way because with the mark of the beast, according to the Book of Revelation, and that the whole language going on there. Once you take the mark, like you're done.
Hmm.
You're basically done for. If you want to take all that as literal.
Yeah, but I mean, they did turn into those like, walking forever creatures. So, I mean,
Yeah.
except for the whole sunlight thing that kind of puts a little damper in your plan to live forever. But yeah, I thought that it was a, correlation between like, yeah, drinking the Kool-Aid,
Mm.
but then literally drinking the blood of not Christ, but the vampire
Yeah,
angel
and that
person
gets
thing.
into what Flanagan was talking about in that quote, where like there's some horrific stuff in
Yeah.
the Bible. The fact that like we metaphorically eat the body of Christ and drink from the blood of Christ,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's a
pretty
good thing. Yeah,
disgusting if you think about it.
yeah. Like there was that movie with Jennifer Lawrence called Mother that deals with a lot of religious industry. And they do something really interesting with that whole concept, which was really jacked up.
So basically, we're supposed to be cannibals.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, Now I want to talk about vampirism. That whole last episode,
Mhm.
when they're all vampires, basically. I want to talk about it as a metaphor for sin and indoctrination.
Mm,
Because when you're a vampire, you have this urge to drink blood,
mhm,
and you have a choice to get into that or to not get
mhm,
into that, give into that temptation, like sin.
mhm,
And to use an example, um, Interview with the Vampire, Tom Cruise Lestat, he's all about drinking the blood of humans. There's even that whole monologue in that film where he talks about, I like to have a certain type of I like to have like a younger person, or like earlier in the night, then like an older person. He just goes into like his whole process, like how he likes to consume blood.
mhm,
And Louis, Brad Pitt's character, he only drinks the blood of animals
mhm.
because he still cares about human beings, enough um, to not want to do that. And I think that was kind of interesting. And Ewan said that Riley, even though he's an atheist, did the right thing by not giving in to his temptation. He even takes
Mhm.
Aaron out into the middle of the ocean on this boat as the sun is coming up to kill himself, basically, with sunlight because he did not want to be a vampire and give into that temptation.
Yeah, very much to your point, there are a lot of, and not just that film, um, in this series, but there are actually a lot of like vampire stories that show the choice,
Mm,
like that, you choose. Um, so it's kind of an oxymoron, probably not the
Mm,
right word to use with this, but then, but because vampirism
mm,
is portrayed so much as a like you're an animal, like
right.
you do things by instinct, you're
Mm,
not using your brain, it's just like all about like you're just doing it because that's, however, it's usually not all of them. Older
mm,
ones don't do older movies about vampires don't do that, but definitely more modern films about vampires have leaned into the even when you're in like you were related to a metaphor
mm,
for sin or indoctrination, even when you're in that or you've been turned into that, you can still make a choice.
right.
So I think that's very profound. That was actually going to be, I know you were
Mm,
going to ask me about one of my favorite parts. That actually was one of my favorite parts, was for many
mm,
characters, it was the ability to make a choice. So not only were there those characters who could that chose to not drink the poison, to die and then come back, but there were also the characters that chose one, even though they did, either because they were bitten and attacked or they drank the Kool-Aid or
mm,
drank the poison, um, then they can make that decision to choose if they're going to. So like with Riley
mm,
taking her out in the boat, but see, I don't think that it was um so much about that. I think that it was a very selfless
mm,
thing to do, yes, for
mm,
Riley to do that. But he said when he was in the boat, he did this because he knows that he's not strong enough, that she's a much stronger person than he is.
right.
So that's why he took her out there, of course, because she wouldn't believe it unless she
Mm,
saw it for herself. Because he
yeah.
wanted her to run. Which stupid girl, come on now, she didn't run. I was very upset with that, by the way.
What else you need to warn people?
I know,
Yeah.
but do you have to always be the good person? Can't you just run? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But
Um,
no, but another example is you get that one person in this town, he's scared because he killed his whole family. He gave into his temptation.
mhm.
And like Beth is kind of mocking him a little bit and kind of like not comforting him. And then you have Stag or Steak, whatever the hell it is.
Sturge.
Sturge. I don't know, man. It's late when we're recording this, by the way. But Sturge is comforting him.
Yeah,
And he's even comforting Riley's younger brother. Because he's
Warren, yeah.
saying, yeah, Warren.
Well, I think though that's what happens a lot. So if you think about like cults or even some things that people would say are happening in the world
Mm,
today. Um, yeah, you get really blind to the truth
mm-hmm,
and what's happening around you. But it's just I think that that's where the hope is that people who may go really far
mm-hmm.
down that road, um, as in like that dude, like drinking the poison, turning into whatever, eating people in the town,
Mm,
or they're not eating, drinking people's blood in the town, that you can still come out the other end and not be Bev. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like you can actually realize what you're doing is wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say somewhat recently in a review for the new Sam's Lot movie that came out a couple of years ago. If you think about it, vampires as far as like cinematic monsters go, is probably the oldest monster.
Yeah,
'Cause that's
probably.
going back all the way to like Nosferatu, and
Yeah.
it's been consistent. Like we've always had vampire movies.
Hmm. Oh, funny. And I did that review with you. So apparently
Yeah.
I'm just good for the vampire. Yeah.
But no, yeah, it is interesting because vampires can be used as a lot of metaphors.
Hmm.
It can be used for sexuality.
Hmm.
It can be used for, temptation. Um, you know, just recently we had Sinners last year. I know you haven't seen the movie yet,
No.
but that movie is a metaphor. It's kind of a metaphor for like cultural appropriation.
Mm.
These vampires coming in and trying to take over the Duke joint, which is a safe haven for black people and black culture, with blues music. They're
Mm.
kind of coming in and kind of taking it over, infecting it.
Mhm.
It's so interesting. When Nosferatu came out, that was shortly after the Spanish flu. It's
Right.
infection. Yeah, so it's just so interesting that like you just use vampires for metaphor for whatever's going on in society. And I love how vampires are scary now. Because there was a point where you had like the freaking Twilight movies and like Vampire Diaries where it was kind of like teen drama. It was stupid. But now like they're legitimately scary now
Yeah.
with like stuff like this and Sinners and Abigail. It's awesome.
Oh, in Twilight they had the choice too. Remember that family drank
I
from
don't
the animal
care.
blood and
I
I'm
don't,
just saying we were talking about the correlation and how like today they're more
yeah.
showing a more human side of a vampire, if
Hmm.
there is such a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean in Rise of the Vampire, the AIDS crisis, was a
Hmm.
big thing and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, One thing I definitely want to hit on before we end this review, and unless there's anything else you want to say.
Are we done?
I mean, we can be. I mean, I want to talk about Father Paul's speech about doing horrible things because where it's headed. Because that's what they're doing. It's like they're fighting for the kingdom to get into the kingdom.
Are you talking about the whole army thing?
Yes,
Okay.
and I want to read the monologue a little bit.
Okay.
He says, "Good Friday is only good. The gospel of the Lord, so full of horror, is only good because where it is headed. The resurrection today is only good because of what's coming, Easter, this Sunday, which is today when we're
Hmm.
posting this, which is why we're posting it this day, or today. When Jesus is risen and death itself is laying dead, what is otherwise horrible is good because where it is headed. Welcome to God's army. We're gonna do great things."
Yeah, the welcome to God's army, we're gonna do great things when he ended that speech was scary.
Yeah. No, it's scary, man. And then, I'm listening to this. I'm hearing all this stuff in the news about like Christian nationalism. It's some scary shit, man.
That's exactly what I wasn't gonna mention it unless you did, but that's
Yeah.
exactly what it made me think about. And I was like, wow, yeah, because thinking that God's army is meant for destruction
Hmm.
is so frightening to me.
Hmm.
And it is very present in our present day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate to say, I hate to talk about this. We're at war with Iran right now.
Mhm.
And so many Christian politicians and extreme Christians with voices. They want to paint it as a good thing
Right.
because we're better, because we're American, because this is God's country.
Which
We're
is
American.
follows so much of what is happening in this series, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact.
but
Yeah.
like, but isn't in your belief system Jerusalem God's holy land? Like, why America? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole weird thing. I don't want to get.
Yeah, I don't want to walk down that road right now.
Yeah, but yeah, I just think it's so I think it's so interesting. That whole dynamic is watching that. One thing.
That was I will say when he did that speech, not that like I agree with the speech and like that the speech didn't, not that it didn't scare me, but it was like, I think the strongest he ever was as a person, as a
Mhm.
character, was like that speech,
Yeah,
you know.
but this whole idea of like Christians, aren't supposed to form God's army to be violent. It made me think of what the actor Matthew Modine said about Jesus, the guy that played Dr. Brenner on Stranger Things, the evil
Okay.
scientist dude, and he was also in Full Metal Jacket. He basically talked about, well, Jesus didn't have an army. He was all about love.
Mm.
that's why he was so like baffling to the Roman army at that time. Because like he wasn't about violence.
Hmm.
And people just wanted to twist his word to make it about violence. And then even that comment section of that video I saw with Mr. Murdine, like people were saying, well, no, that's not what Jesus was about. Like he did talk about violence. I mean, yeah, Jesus was violent. He flipped over tables, but that was because people were profiting off of his father's name, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
It's about love. That's why Jesus was so different. Yeah, from everybody, like because he was about love.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because isn't Jesus didn't Jesus say to be not of this world? And if we're trying to form armies to go to war with other nations, aren't we becoming the world in a way? Aren't we comprehending the patterns of this world? I don't know. I'm just this is a thought. That's a thought.
Those are good thoughts. Yeah. Yeah. Good thoughts.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to go too far down that trail.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
just wanted to,
Just
yeah, I
like
just wanted to leave you on that thought
I'm
as far as
floating
that
back.
topic
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
Um, anything else you want to bring up?
Did we want to talk about the what I believe death is or no?
Yes,
Okay.
because that's gonna be a heavy topic right there.
Yeah, because for me that can kind of like wrap it up, sort
Mm,
of.
yeah. So yeah, I'll let you take over. I'll let you give your first.
Why you always on the really heavy ones go?
No, I want to go
Take
back. Well,
over.
I want to go back and forth between who talked about what
Okay.
first.
So, well, it also ties into one of my least favorite things about the movie, and I'll explain that at the very end. But one thing I do like about this film, it's not a film, so sorry, this
Hmm.
series is I do like that the Flanagan took a moment to think about death from different people's perspective instead of just pushing his own personal idea into it. When he has the two of them sitting on the couch talking about death. Um, Riley seeing it from a completely scientific
Hmm.
atheist point of view where you are only matter that decided to form this body, you die, it all goes back. I did like the thought of like in the very end, but your body has died. So sorry. Your body has died, but your brain hasn't died, but it is slowly dying, and the last thing that you have is just a dream
Hmm.
about everything. So you get to see that one last time. But side note, what if you had a really crappy life? So that's going to be your last thing is like all the crappy crap that's happening.
Right.
But anyway, but I get the beauty of like the moment in the speech. Um, her talking about, um, well, the first time she talks about it, on the couch with Riley, she talks about it from her baby's
Mm.
perspective. Um,
That was so beautiful.
it was, yes. I loved the thought because, well, because I don't have, I know. Neither one of them are exactly my perspective or my thoughts
Right.
on death. So I loved hearing Riley's because I haven't really thought about it because I'm not an atheist.
Mm.
So I don't think of death that way. Um, but it was beautiful
Hmm.
with the way that he described it and talked about it. So kudos to the writing for
Hmm.
that because I thought that was really good. But then like her perspective in saying, that that the baby
Hmm.
was going to see people in her family that the baby wouldn't know them, but that they would know her and that
Hmm.
they love. So it was all about love. And I'm trying to find it because I
Hmm.
wrote down my note about that, but it was about love and that she would grow up quickly
Hmm.
because God or would have her be her perfect self.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here it goes. So she says that your spirit's lifted up, God, that God didn't want the baby to suffer. So that's why the God called her back,
Mm-hmm.
trying to wrap your mind around like why would you lose a baby? Of course, we
Mm-hmm.
all know the truth about the vampire blood, but
Right.
she doesn't know that. Um, but that I what I loved about what she says because it was a feeling of love that she's pure, she's not alone, she's home, she grows up
Mm-hmm.
to be her perfect self, her perfect age, the peak of herself. That joy was eternal or was for eternity, and that's what they mean by heaven, being loved and not alone. That is God, that is heaven.
Right.
That was so, like I said, I loved what Riley said, but then when she said that, first I wasn't with her because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're talking from the baby's point of view, and like, but then when she got to the end of that, I was definitely hooked
Mm-hmm.
with what she said because I do question
Mm-hmm.
what is heaven, what is hell,
Right.
what happens when we die. Of course, I'm getting older. You start thinking about
Yeah, I'm
stuff
like
like
that. I'm
that,
like that too.
but that's what I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope it is because I
Right.
really do hope that there is not an ending. I've lost my dad and
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to have just ended. I want him to be wrapped in love and joy.
Yeah.
So I really do hope that that is what heaven is about.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely. I don't know if we need to cut this, but when you mentioned, your dad, my grandfather, when he passed away, is when I started to have questions about the afterlife.
Hmm.
Because he was the first person that was close to that
Right.
passed away in my life. And I hastily, I did sort of believe in the traditional view of hell for a while. Um, and I'm like, well, I'm never gonna go there because I think I'm a good enough person. I follow God and enough. But then I really thought about it. Why would God, again, going back to God making people knowing that they would be flawless and knowing that the majority of them isn't going to make the cut
Hmm.
to make it to heaven and send them to a place to be tormented day or night? Yeah, that's kind of messed up. And so, in me listening to different perspectives about hell and heaven, one thing that kept coming up that really fascinated me was the way you look at heaven and hell is the way you look at God in a way.
What do you mean?
So if you believe that God sends the majority of people to hell to be tormented, then he's kind of a tyrant in a way.
Hmm.
Like, and then I don't want to believe in God as a tyrant. That is scary.
Yeah, that's definitely hits on sort of my perspective of God. Of course, growing up in the church that I do grow up in, you do hear a lot about just, being punished.
Hmm.
You're punished and your sin, if you sin, God punishes you and you get what you deserve basically. And even the sins of your father goes to your children. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
all
like
that
thinking
stuff.
of God like that.
Yeah, but see, I just then when I left that kind of church,
Hmm.
and went to seek my own spirituality and my own thoughts on God and existence, and um, I'm like, I just don't see that. I see God as love. Like
Hmm.
it's about love and we have him in us. That's what gives us our ability to love.
Right.
But then my big questioning moment is um for your audience, Drew's
Hmm.
sister, my daughter, had leukemia when
Hmm.
she was 3, and that's when, and I was going to a Baptist church
Hmm.
at the time, um, and that's hit me. in a lot of different ways, actually,
Right.
because I do believe in prayer and I do believe in um, the strength in prayer, and I still do believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know what you're praying to. I mean, I think everybody prays to whatever they're
Mm-hmm.
praying to. I'm not dictating what people pray to or how they pray, but I do believe there is power in prayer. Um, but what hit me was when afterwards, definitely, when she was past the scary parts and everything, and people in my face trying to tell me that there was a reason and a purpose for
Mm-hmm.
it. I'm like, no, in my mind, there's no way that God would like make that happen
Mm-hmm.
to give it purpose.
Right.
So I don't think that that's how God operates.
Yeah.
I don't think he punishes and makes these bad things happen.
Yeah.
So it's my, so I know, but we're going back to heaven and hell. So that's
Mm-hmm.
also leans into my thought of I just can't see God as a
Right.
punisher where like if you could be a good, because, well, in the teachings that I grew up with, you could be the best person in the world, but
Mm.
if you didn't accept Jesus Christ, you were going to hell. Like it didn't
Right.
matter what you did on earth.
Yeah, that's
So to me, that is just does not ring as truth to me. I don't think that God is a punisher.
yeah, and in my research and my discovery of the afterlife or my journey in changing my views on the afterlife, the one thing I noticed too was this debate of either take it to heaven good works or repentance,
Exactly.
and surrendering your life to God.
Yeah.
And
And
there,
different
well,
religions believe different things, so who's right,
yeah,
who's
well,
wrong?
here's my problem with that is it's like, okay, if it's only being a good person, can an atheist make it? You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
But then if it's only good works, or you're only doing good works because you want to get out of hell,
But then that's bad, so then you would go to hell.
then that doesn't make any sense. And then if it's based off of just accepting Christ, then
Then you can go murder somebody and you're fine.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really is. It comes down to how do you react to
Yeah.
this world of chaos.
I just think the concepts of heaven and hell that were in a Christian
Mm,
Bible were again written by men to keep
mm.
people in line.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's like you do bad things, you're gonna
Mm,
go to hell and burn forever. I think that was a man, some man, that
mm.
is, humans, trying to keep other humans in line, not that that is actually what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But then again, I also don't, but I'm gonna ask you, if you don't think that about
Mm,
hell, what about heaven?
right.
Does it exist, or are both of those non-existent and it's something completely different?
Yeah, but I'm not. I mean, I can spend all day talking about my different views.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get into that.
Yeah, but so going back to talking about this in this series, that's what I liked about them having that conversation, because I think it really opened up for people like us to have a
Mm,
conversation about it, because what is it? And I think that it did a really good job of, no matter what perspective you were coming from or what you believed, or your perspective,
mm.
that it made it beautiful no matter where you come from or what you believe.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it is I like even though Flaming is an atheist, and I'm not, so we kind of class that in that perspective. But he recognized what we sort of agree with. I mean, I haven't talked to the man, but just from like interviews I've seen of him, he at least, even though he does have a lot of issues with religion, he does recognize the good parts of it.
Yeah,
That it does bring a lot of people comfort,
yeah,
and I think that's a beautiful thing.
yeah,
But you just got this real dogmatic side of it.
yeah. I will say though, it ties into my least favorite part. of the series. My least favorite part is when Erin is actually dying and she changes her whole perspective.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I do get that it is still a very beautiful moment
mm,
because she's with the stars and she's in peace and all of that stuff. But it makes me mad. I think that they should have just kept her mouth shut and let us maybe see the weird starry stuff that she can
mm.
see and just let her die. I think they should not have put the commentary in there because it made me angry that she changed her whole perspective and she's like, oh, it's just my neurons.
Yeah, when now that I think about it, and um, really, she's not there yet, like in the afterlife or whatever. You're not dead yet. You're
Mhm.
dying.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, that's another kind of thing. But I mean, that's just a minor thing.
yeah, I was just really upset. They should have just kept her mouth shut and just let her die.
Yep. So any other points you want to hit?
Um, did we talk about our scariest part? Do you talk about your scariest part?
No.
You know, okay, let's tell each other what our scariest
So
parts are.
my scariest part is Riley's death
Why?
because I think that is just so scary. That this person that you grew up with your entire life, this
And she
person,
loves. I mean, they love each other.
yeah, yeah. So it's not just like a friendship, but like a romantic
Mm,
kind of thing too. Just bursts into flames, just and it turns to ash
mm.
right in front of you. It's that's like one of those like what the fuck moments.
Yeah, that is pretty scary. Pretty scary.
Oh, what's your scariest part?
My scariest part is when Father Paul Pruitt, that's what I call him, Father
Yeah.
Paul Pruitt, because he's both. He is the same person. But when he kills, well, he doesn't kill
Mm,
Joe, but Joe falls down and hits his head, and then the blood's going everywhere. And it just kind of like, you're just like, oh crap. So, he likes the
mm,
smell of the blood, so he starts drinking the blood. But it was when he like went like animalistic and grabbed Joe and pulled him up to his mouth
oh
and
God.
started like sucking the blood out of the top of his head. That was the most grotesque, scariest moment that in the whole film to
Yeah, and
me.
that's what makes vampires so scary. You
Yes.
can just turn on a dime. I think that's why Christopher Lee, to me, is the best Dracula.
Yeah.
That he was just so charming, and then like later in the scene, like he just, I love that
Yeah.
so much.
When I was young, I had totally forgot about this, but when I was young, and I had seen some scary movies, some vampire
Mm,
movies. Um, I remember going to bed and being so thankful that I had long hair because I would take my hair
mm,
and wrap it and put it on my neck because I
right.
was terrified that in the middle of the night, like a vampire was gonna come
Mm,
and like suck the blood out of my neck.
yeah. Quick question. This might be a hard one since
Mm.
you don't analyze things like I do. What would be so either like a movie or a series or whatever? What's your favorite vampire story?
Oh yeah, I told you not to throw things like this at me. My favorite vampire
Or
story,
movie. It could be any.
story or movie.
Yeah, it could just be any
Um, Name some.
Interview with the Vampire, That's All Dawn, Dracula.
I do like Bram Stoker's. I know you kind of talked about. I was trying to come up with something that maybe you hadn't talked
Oh,
about.
just in Dracula in general, or the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman.
The His Dracula, Bram Stoker.
Oh, the book.
Yes, I can't say
So,
it.
so you read the
Bram
book?
Stoker. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Very scary.
Yeah.
Reading. Why? I don't know why, but for me, reading something
Mm.
is scarier
Oh,
than watching it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought that movie Undertown about the podcaster that listens to like the creepy audio files.
Mm,
Like that was so scary to hear all that scary stuff.
yeah.
I would say my favorite, well, I'll say my favorite Dracula movie
Mm,
is the original Nosferatu, and even the new one. It's literally died for me. There's just something so archaic about the original, and then I like the story and characters
yeah.
more in the new one.
What is that cartoon like? The one with the hotel.
Hotel Transylvania,
That is my favorite Dracula,
really?
vampire
Yeah, Adam
Dracula.
Sandler is your favorite Dracula.
Because he's so nice. Like, he
Yeah.
just wants to take care of his little girl.
Then my favorite vampire movie overall, it's either Interview with the Vampire.
Interview. It's so long, though.
It is,
Yeah.
but I just like that metaphor of it being about like
You're interviewing a vampire.
yeah.
Like you literally are
Well, yeah,
interviewing a
just like
vampire.
the whole like it being like they're like these aristocrats in
Yeah.
society, and they can kind of do whatever they want, and then there's kind of like that gay metaphor there.
I know, but see, I don't. I like. Yeah, I don't like that. Anyway,
Yeah, I just think it's so interesting. Yeah, it's either that or From Dusk Till Dawn, 'cause that movie is just so much fun.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the part. My favorite part is when they first kill the first wave of vampires, and they're kind of like figuring like out like what the hell's going on and how we're gonna stop these vampires. And then George Clooney is all like, I'm tired of this vampire talk because I only believe what I saw with my own two eyes, and what I saw with my own two eyes were fucking vampires.
Of course, I love Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Nosferatu. Yeah.
yeah, that's great. And then
It's so classic. Like.
yeah, Sinners was amazing.
Mm.
And then I really like the original Fright Night a lot.
Oh, so totally forgot about Fright Night. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like how like this real like charming vampire, like his name is Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name
I
is
totally forgot that was his
yeah,
name. Yeah.
his name is Jerry. But let's do favorite part and then least favorite part.
Oh, I just did them.
Oh, we'll get okay. Well, your favorite part.
Well, I have another favorite part. I talked about my favorite part being that people had choices
Mm,
throughout. You have a choice. I love
right.
that they had that. But to me, the most one of the most, I should
Mm,
say, sentimental moments, beautiful moment for me, which then classifies it as one of my favorite parts of the movie was when the sheriff's son, Ollie, is that how you
mm,
say his name? Ollie, took after all that was happening and all the, disappointment, his son wanting to go see Christianity and not follow
mm,
his religion, but that moment of him taking his dad all the way down to the beach
mm,
and though I'm not Muslim, but him praying with his dad, him
mm.
doing the prayer with his dad, and
Yes.
that's how they both ended their lives. So I mean, the sheriff dies because of his
Mm,
wound, and then the son dies because he burns up. That was my favorite part, was that moment
yeah.
of them coming back together after everything that happened. They're
When
together.
when also like it also illustrated because just because their beliefs are a little slightly different than from Christianity, they still have this connection, the
Hmm.
spiritual connection to a higher power.
Exactly.
And that was
Yeah.
beautiful. And then you have like Raleigh's mother singing that beautiful hymn,
Hmm.
which I can't remember the name of it. I can remember the tune of it.
Yeah, I don't remember. And then I talked about my least favorite was when
Mm,
Erin changed her whole perspective on death.
yeah.
Like she should have just shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up and die. Yeah.
My favorite part is Father Paul's confessional scene. Just illustrates Harmon Linklater's like just vocal ability and just how he captures you.
Mhm.
Funny enough, he voiced Batman.
No,
Yeah, in a recent Batman
that's
animated
funny.
series. So I'm just gonna have to bring that up because I'm a huge
Yeah.
Batman fan. And then least favorite part, I got nothing.
I can't believe you have nothing.
Yeah, this is perfect. This is a perfect series, other than the death thing at the end with Aaron.
Okay.
And then I want to do favorite character and then most relatable character real quick, and then we'll wrap up. We'll do our rating and then
Okay.
wrap up. So who's your favorite character?
Well, we kind of already talked about it. Sheriff,
Hmm.
he was my favorite character just of who he was. I just
Hmm.
thought he just had everything I would want in a man, just
Right.
that perspective, but just everything I would want in a father, everything I would want in a husband, everything that I would
Hmm.
want in a community member, as a best friend, as the person when I'm down and I'm the lowest I can be, that's the person that's there. Like he was my favorite character.
Right.
And the actor who played him, great job.
Yeah, I think his name is Raul Coley.
I don't know, great job.
Yeah. And then your most relatable character.
My most relatable would probably be Riley.
Mm-hmm.
I think that very similar past. No, I have not had an alcoholic accident
Mm-hmm.
and I have not killed anyone in a car accident. But just the emotions that he went through and how he sees his life and journey,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think I related to him the most.
Yeah. Mine the same thing. But I'll mix it up a little bit. I'll
Okay.
say my second favorite character is Father Paul.
Really why?
I just think he's just, I mean, the series the most likable, obviously, but Father Paul the most interesting to
Mm,
me. He's so conflicted. I
yeah.
think he's the most, I think he goes through the most emotional arc
Mm,
throughout the entire series. He had the biggest roller coaster of like stuff he goes through.
definitely, for sure.
Yeah, because he starts out this old man and he's kind of fearing death, and then he goes to Damascus, and then he sees this vampire that gives him like eternal life, and then he's kind of thinking it's an angel life, maybe he doesn't, and he's tricking people, and then he has like this devil on his shoulder with Beth King.
Oh my gosh. She
Yeah,
is, if there were a devil, like if it, yeah, that she is. She's
yeah,
definitely
oh yeah, for sure.
a devil's worker.
Yeah, and then my most
Just
relatable character is Twilight.
yeah.
This is like a bit, a skeptic like I am.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, I think he was supposed to be
Mm,
people's most relatable character.
yeah,
I think it was written and done that way
yeah, and he's
to
good.
be.
He's good in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do score. What is your score out of 10?
Oh shoot, I forgot you like to do scores. Out of 10, ooh yeah. I would probably give this a good 9, maybe a 9.5.
9.5. I'll go with that one.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go with a 10.
Okay.
I think this is an absolute masterpiece. To me,
The for me, seriously, the point five is all about not letting people, and the end, the whole thing going back to
yeah.
Aaron stating that this is what death is. If you would have just left it open and let people get what they need to get out of it, or what
Hmm.
let people have their own thoughts walking out of the series, I'd have given it a 10. That's the only reason
Oh
why I
yeah.
gave it the 5 point down.
Oh yeah. For sure. But here's the thing. For me, for the last decade to 2010, the Babadook was like the bar for like horror. Because I love absolutely, I mean, that movie scares the shit out of
Which
me.
is so funny because it does not scare me at all, but it terrifies you.
Yeah,
It's
but it's a
hilarious.
beautiful movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Like
fun.
it's a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
And to me, for this decade, and we're a little over halfway through it. This is the bar for horror for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Who told us about the Babadook? Do you remember?
I think it was Rachel.
No, it was Eric.
Eric.
Eric is the one who told us that we should watch Babadook.
Yeah, and I remember me and you watched it, and I think
Yeah.
I remember. I think I told the story when me and Eric reviewed it. But I watched this whole movie with my blanket from my neck to my toes the entire time. It freaked me out that much. So the official horror sci-fi and beyond score for Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass is a 10,
Yes.
which is awesome. Um. So I don't know what the next week's episode is gonna be. We haven't really decide on it yet, but it's gonna be something.
It's gonna be something.
Yep. So guys, if you like this episode and you want to see more spooky and weird content, make sure you slash that subscribe button and follow us at Horror Sci-Fi and Beyond on Facebook. And also, don't forget to leave this episode a killer comment and give it a King Kong sized thumbs up. And I thank you for spending Easter Sunday with us. And never forget to stay weird.